why would I bring a child into this world to suffer in a world that is not good? I mean, it has a lot of positive things if we are with God and if we make the right choices, but it can be a hardship to live in this world for many different reasons.
Growing up, reading the Bible, I always wanted to have 5 children. My mom would say, that will be too much for this economy, Martin. In the Bible times, it was a different story, but right now, you will have to make a whole lot of money and it's going to be hard for the thing. But I was like, no.
Because I had a mom that chose to stay and make us a priority, and it impacted our lives tremendously to know that we had someone present, that they were not absent or wishing they were not a mom or yearning for a job. We were the job. We were the priority.
Yes, true. It is end times and it is easier to not have children and to move on with life, because when things go south, it'll be easier. But then where is our dependence on? Is it on self-reliance or reliance on God?
We had this little box as we met that we would pray. We had little paper hearts and we would write different prayer requests on the hearts. And there was just one, and this was the first year of our courtship. And we actually wrote down that God would lead us in our kids and in our future with that.
Yes.
Welcome to another episode of Happily Ever After with the Raj family. Today's episode is a very unique one, kind of following our interracial marriage, but on a topic that is very important, sensitive. It's about kids and parenting. So, honey, what were our thoughts when we met? How did we both feel about that? And how did we go about it so far? Or at the beginning?
I think initially we both wanted to have children, right? Because for me, growing up, reading the Bible, I always wanted to have 5 children. My mom would say, that will be too much for this economy, Martin. In the Bible times, it was a different story, but right now, you will have to make a whole lot of money and it's going to be hard for the thing. But I was like, no, I want to have 5 children and it's going to be great because it'll be like a whole family. We can do things together. But yeah, even though that was in my mind, it is not like set on stone. Like, that is it. And I need to have 5 children, So that is how I came from. And I understand you also wanted to have children. So
definitely, I was always envisioning family with kids, not without kids. Because for me, it was like, it's not a complete family. And actually, since very young, I always envisioned getting married and having children. Like, being a mother was part of what I envisioned, so I never imagined no kids. Even though my journey was very unique in that aspect, just a lot of analyzing, praying, and different convictions in my journey. But so you wanted kind of like a medium to large size family, right? To really enjoy and be a big family. And I remember he said, I want 5 kids. And I was like, definitely I don't want a single child, because I've seen how much they suffer and how much they yearn for that fellowship and connection and just friendship. And I had one brother. We were not a lot, but it was so much fun to have someone to play with.
Exactly.
And I've seen parents with only one child, if they choose that, they have to be the friends of the child forever. And so which is good, be their friend, but they have to be playing with them because they don't have anyone to play with. And you can play so much by yourself. God created us social beings, so we want that connection. So for me, it was like, only child? No, unless that's what only God gives. But definitely will strive to have at least 2.
Yeah.
I was more like max 3, because more than 3, you need another different car. You need everything differently. And it's just more logistics. And I prefer less and meaningful and really be connected with your children than a lot. And then the oldest has to take care of the youngest, and you cannot really have meaningful interactions. That's how I felt, because I grew up in a small family, just 2. And it was like, if you have more, how can you keep up with everyone to really be intentional with each one? So that was my mindset. So I remember, and just the other day, we have a couple little things here from our journey and our story. We had this little box as we met that we would pray. We had little paper hearts, and we would write different, actually, prayer requests on the hearts. And there was just one, and this was at the first year of our courtship. And we actually wrote down that God would lead us in our kids and in our future with that.
Yes, yeah.
And it was like since the very beginning, we talked about it. We were very clear where we stood. And we started praying for it. And why have we prayed so much all along? Like, what has been our main request in the whole journey?
I think it is for God to show us if this is the time to have children or not, because we know that the prophecies are being fulfilled all over the world. Matthew 24, one after the other, it's happening. And we can without doubt say that we are in the end times. And for that coming faster, we were not sure if we should have children or not, because the Bible does say that woe to them that have children. However,
Because it would be more difficult.
exactly. However, if God is willing to give us children, then He will take care of the children as well. And we both, in different ways, have been very focused in knowing what God wants us to do, not just with children, but in every other aspect. But then when it comes to children, it is also a life-altering thing.
Yeah.
If we have children, it's not like we can go back to not having children. It's going to change our whole life. So we were still praying for God to show if He wants us to have children or not. And also, we cannot go to counselors for this per se and get an idea, because different people have different values and different understandings. Some would say, have children. This is the time you need to have children. And some are going to say, oh, this is kind of concerning that you want to have children at this day and age because Christ is coming soon. But that's why I think even though people counsel us in both aspects, we want to make sure that God clearly shows us if He wants us to have children or not.
Yeah, definitely throughout our relationship from beginning till now, our greatest prayer has truly been, God, your will be done. If you want us to be parents, we would be thrilled and happy with that calling. But if you choose otherwise, we want to also be ready in our hearts and accept and mentally get ready if God says no for some reason. And we were clear that the first couple years we didn't want to rush into it, even though we were not youngsters like in our 20s. But we just wanted to do it not on a rush and out of fear, like then we will not be able to, but really take time. We took 2 years to get to know each other. And then we wanted to have a couple years to truly build on our marriage and the direction God would call us for. So
Yeah.
I think it's so important not to do things out of fear, but out of God's timing and out of peace and understanding.
And also have that fulfillment. Even if God doesn't give us children, we can still be happy because God has given us each other. But also, there is another option, right? We can adopt. We can adopt children. If God says no to have our own children, we can also have children that are in the orphanages and they need a family as well. So we were open to whichever direction God was going to lead us. Either way, we felt like we need to have children. But then with our ministry, with the work that we do, we travel a lot. We don't know if we will want to have children because, right?
I mean, everything will change because that's another dynamic we talked about. If we have children, we want them to be a priority for the season of life they need us the most. Because I had a mom that chose to stay and make us a priority, and it impacted our lives tremendously to know that we had someone present, that they were not absent or wishing they were not a mom or yearning for a job. We were the job, we were the priority, and it really brings so much security.
Exactly.
And it to have a parent that invests in you is so foundational. So we know that for now, we were not going to change everything just to wait until we have kids, because we can plan on it, but God is the one that also makes it happen. So we don't even know what God will choose to do or how it will work.
And also, with our family, our priority is children. Many people say, people have different opinions, different priorities for them. Some people might be like, for us, work is more priority, but we want to have children as well. So we will do
Both.
But
Yeah.
for us, children is more priority.
And especially as a mom, that has been my conviction, and we talked about it as well, that if I have kids, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. I would want to support my husband and be involved as long as that does not take me away from the priority that is my kids. So many things will have to change. And so, now we have our coaching business, our ministry, we travel, we do so much together. But if God wants us to have kids for a certain time, we are going to focus, and especially me, I want to focus to train them to be missionaries, to train them to build their connection with God, because I believe that that's my first calling if I become a mom.
Yeah.
And so we have talked about it. Like, I won't be able to travel as much. I won't be able to do a lot of things. A lot of things would have to change in my life. And so are we ready for it? Do we realize what that will mean? And so we have had to process all of that as well, because yes, it will be a big change. But if that's God's will and we allow him to lead in that, then we know that he has a plan for our good and for the good of others. And can I share a little bit of growing up? Actually, when I was 12 years old, I really had this strong conviction in my heart. I was like, why would I bring a child into this world to suffer, in a world that is not good? I mean, it has a lot of positive things if we are with God and if we make the right choices, but it can be a hardship to live in this world for many different reasons. And now more than ever, the world is so confused in so many levels, and so it's just harder to navigate life. And I was like, I feel it wouldn't be an act of love to bring a child into this world. And I was very clear with that for years. I was like, I do not want to bring a new child to this world. I want to help those that already are here and need a loving home. So I was all into adoption in my family. Even my last name as a single person was Paul or Paul, and that came from an orphanage in Argentina where my great-grandfather was given to adoption, and that's how the name, everyone that came out of it, was Saint Vincent of Paul, basically, in Spanish. And I had a burden for orphans. I had a burden for the needy, the one that didn't have a family, love, and I wanted to give that. And for years, this was my passion, my goal, my mission, to find a young man that would want to unite in that calling. But in 2019 or so, a few years ago, I joined a mom's group, and I would follow this very committed Christian mom on Instagram, and I was like so inspired by her determination to educate her girls, to teach them about health and about finances and economy and faithfulness and tithe and offerings and industrious and so many things. I was like, since they're 2 years old, they're already like powerful missionaries. She's really training her daughters to be servants of God, to be committed, to be lights, to be a blessing since that young. And I was like, that's exactly what I want to do. I want to invest as a mother. And that, for the first time, I saw that having kids with a unique purpose and mission and with very intentional effort can be a huge blessing as well. So I was open since then. After I joined this mom's group, I wanted to learn how to be a mom even before I had any concrete relationship or plans because since very young I wanted to be a mother. And every time I would think about my future, I would think, how would I want to raise my kids? Because that brought perspective to the life I really wanted. And so afterwards, I was like, okay, if God gives kids, and after seeing so many close people go through miscarriages and just infertility, it's like life is truly a miracle and it's a blessing. So if God chooses that, it's a gift to the world. It's someone that can be a light in this dark world. So my perspective changed, and even though many people say, you know, at the end of times, maybe you should not marry, you should not have kids, like you should not study, you shouldn't do anything, just proclaim the truth and just wait. That mindset, I don't think it's the right.
I agree. I agree with that because, again, as we shared before, if God wants us to have children, if He is bringing the children into it, He is going to take care of them. And of course, we can try to have our children on our own without letting God be involved in it. But we are making sure that God shows us very clearly, because that is how it has been for us in terms of work, in terms of place we moved. All of that God has been showing, and God shows very clearly when people are faithful and sincere to ask about certain things and specific things, and God makes it very clear. And yes, true, it is end times, and it is easier to not have children and to move on with life, because when things go south, it'll be easier. But then, where is our dependence on? Is it on self-reliance or reliance on God? You know, if God is giving us children, then He will be able to take care of us.
Yeah. And God never said, do not get married or do not have kids. He said, as in the days of Noah, people were just marrying and giving in marriage like without really thinking about it. And that's the problem. When we are not prayerfully doing things and doing it just for doing it, just to be married, I'm just going to get married, without thinking on the eternal repercussion and the impact that will have in our spiritual walk, in our eternal life. So He never said don't marry at the end of time. He never said don't have kids, because He says that kids will be preaching, having vision. So someone has to be having children. He just said, oh, for those that are breastfeeding or pregnant, in the time where persecution will unleash and a lot of things will happen, it will just be a lot harder. So he gives certain counsels, biblical counsels, but He still promises to be with us no matter what situation.
And it is also very important for us to understand the Bible, not just blindly read through it and think, oh, it's coming like 1,000 years later, 2,000 years later, 7,000 years later, or it's something that is going to happen somewhere in the future, not right now, or a lot of things have happened in the past, it's not right now. I think that also would lead us to have a better understanding of the Bible. We should study the Bible, ask God to show us. That will help us to know what times we are living in. And the Spirit will lead us, right? The Spirit will lead us to all truth, right? And because people have their own opinions, their own suggestions. And I remember someone saying when we got married, we want to have children and all of that, but for you the priority is to take care of the family, take care of the house and all of that. And again, everyone can have their own lifestyle. No one is to say anyone if this is right or wrong. They can choose, they can ask God, and God can show them. And I remember someone telling me, so what is Debbie going to do in the house all day long? It takes only so much time to dust the house, that's it. But that's the same person that also said, well, I took care of 3 of my daughters and I had 2 jobs, 2 full-time jobs I had to do. And my question was, how could you do 2 full-time jobs and take care of your 3 daughters? Like, how you don't, humanly, it's not even possible to do that, because you're not there for your children. So the argument can go both ways. But the ultimate point is, everyone for themselves with God. They decide if they want to have children or not. If they want to go to work and put the children in the daycare, school, they can do whatever they want. If the couple decide that the mother or the father wants to stay home, take care of the children, like homeschool them and take care of the family, that's up to them.
Yeah.
I think it is very important to first counsel with God and have a conviction and make decisions based off of that instead of telling someone else, this is how I lived and this is how you should live as well. And
Yeah.
that is a very faulty way to live.
And, maybe that was all you could do to survive because maybe, as a single mother or whatever, and each situation is very unique.
Exactly.
And your mom had to do things, when you were young as a single mom. And so they're very unique situations, but not everyone now should become a single mom
Exactly.
style or
Exactly.
workaholic couple. Like, that's for everyone to truly ask themselves. And
Exactly.
we knew that for us, money was never the priority. We did not marry because of money, and we don't live because of money. Honestly, we live because of conviction, of clear answers from God, and of desiring with our full heart to be faithful. But there are certain things that are, for us, are a lot more crucial than even money. So
Absolutely.
for me personally, was I wanted to start, and this will be for another episode for sure, because there's a lot to be shared on shaming wives that want to truly be wives, or shaming mothers that want to be mothers, and investing that is like, oh, what are you doing? You're not, you don't want to work, you don't want. And if they only knew the struggle that can be to make that decision and to say, I want to leave that goal-oriented mindset and be goal-oriented in my home and make the best out of it. And when you are creative, when you have ideas, when you have projects, it's never enough to do things in your home, because it's not just about cleaning and organizing. There's so much more. The same being a mother. Like, when I observe this young mother, she invests so much. The little girls are giving recipes, are little chefs since babies. They are doing their finances. They're learning to cook and to sell their little products. So they have a whole full life. And I haven't been with them in their home, but just seeing the results, you realize that takes a lot of investment of time and effort to make a child to grow with so much, not just like a baby until they're 7, but really grow and mature in a way that is so enriching and so productive at their age, in a way that it's fun and that they enjoy, and that, so yeah, it's so much to talk about.
Yeah, that's for another episode, and we can talk about it then. Are we going to
So
the
there's
question
some
here?
other questions. So talking about culture, perspective, and parenting, how did each one of our upbringings shaped how we view parenting?
Okay, so for me, as you shared a little bit few minutes ago, you said that I was raised by a single mom, and that is unfortunately the fact, because my father left us as soon as he found out that my mother was pregnant with me, and yeah, so he didn't want to do anything with me. And so he left us. It was just my mom, my brother, and I. At that time, my grandparents were alive, but then they passed away later, in couple years after that. And it was really hard. I think I've shared this in one of the previous episodes, but it was hard to see my friends playing with their parents, playing with their fathers. The fathers coming out, because I lived in apartments for several years, and then the fathers are there playing with the kids along with us. And here I don't have a father that is
Doing that.
doing that. Yeah, exactly. And I was very ashamed, and that actually shows me that, or helped me to be even more stronger, that I need to be there for my kids. I want to be there for my kids and show them that they have a very loving father, a father that is wanting to play with them, spend time with them, be intentional about it, and not just someone that goes make money and comes back home, but someone that also is intentionally willing to have the time, the quality time that they can spend with the children. There are fathers, there are even mothers who want to support, and they might not have time for the children. And unfortunately, that is their reality. And yeah, we cannot change that. But for me, in my personal conviction, I want to be there for my kids. I want to, yes, I want to work. I want to make sure that they are fed, they are taken care, but also I want to be there for them, physically present, and someone that they can open up, that they can share. They can open up about anything, whether their happiness or their sadness, their discouragement, anything. I want them to know that they have a father that supports them, that is there, that loves them. So that definitely has shaped me in that perspective. And there are a few others, but I want you to share something and then I can share more.
So, well, as I just mentioned, having my mom be a stay-at-home mom, definitely that shaped my desire. Like, I want to do that. I want to do the same. And then seeing others and the impact it has, definitely when parents are absent, for whatever reason, maybe it was needed, but children later on really are impacted because of it. And so that's something super important. And culturally, growing up with more of the family mindset, putting family first, which has been most of, I don't know, countries have changed through the decades, but growing up, generally, moms and families were more involved in the home, in South America at least. So I wanted that. I wanted to eat meals together, to just spend time together, to not be each one in their own corner, living their life like they are isolated in the same home. Definitely, that was not something I wanted. So, a connected family, a
Yeah,
family that
yeah.
feels the joy to be together, the desire to be together, the confidence and safe place. Yeah.
Yeah. The other one I do remember vividly is I was, in India, you wherever you go, you walk or you take your bicycle and ride around. I was coming back from a place and I saw this construction poles. I was just little kid. I think maybe even in pre-teens. I was just shaking the pole. Didn't realize there was someone up there. And he no, I didn't shake. Let me correct it. I didn't shake. I just tapped it couple times. I didn't shake it. And the guy scolded me and I felt scared and I went home. And then at that time, my father was there to visit for a few hours. And then I told him about what has happened. And he went back, took me to the place, and he scolded him. And because certain words the guy said was offensive, and my father went and scolded him like crazy. And that was just a glimpse of how it would have been if a father was there to protect us. Yeah, it was my fault to hit the pole, but the guy could have also shared it and not be so threatened, because it was not like I was breaking the whole thing down. I was just being playful. So I was just tapping it, and then he could have told me, hey, or something to alert me, then I wouldn't have done that. But anyway, it showed the power of having a father, because the father was able to go and fight back with a guy. And for me, I want my children to know that I'm there to protect them. I'm there to fight for them. Not necessarily like a boxing or wrestling, but
Whatever is needed.
whatever is needed. Yeah, exactly. I'm there to protect them. I'm there to help them out, have a safe space in the house. So that is something that I would say it shaped my mind. It was just a glimpse, but how beautiful it would have been if that is how it was for both my brother and I throughout. But I don't want my children to miss out on that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful and super powerful to grow up knowing that you can trust and they have your back, like your
Exactly.
parents. You can go to them
Mm-hmm.
about anything. And so, so what type of values, be it cultural
Mm-hmm.
or in general values, do we envision giving our children? I mean, I think there's a lot in that just question, but
So, one thing I do have in mind, I know in the US it is different in terms of disciplining the children. They are very careful. They don't want to hurt the children. They want to validate their emotions. While that is all true, sometimes they need a different type of discipline for them to understand. Now, I'm not saying everyone needs to beat their children or everyone needs to just talk with them, be kind with them, none of those things. But how, what should I do to help them to realize? I don't want to react with anger, even though that is part of my culture. Oh, you did this, I'm coming to beat you. I don't want to do it that way, but I want them to understand what are the repercussions of certain things that they are not supposed to do, yet they did. It doesn't have to always be a punishment, or it doesn't have to be like there is no punishment at all.
not
You know,
ignore issues,
exactly.
but be consistent as parents to guide them
Yeah. Yeah.
and form their characters.
Exactly. Help them to form their characters.
Yeah.
And in India, it is more intense. But I don't want to be that intense. But I want to be more helpful in terms of developing building the characters, not just reacting out of my own emotions. I told you not to go there, and the bike would hit you, and this will happen. That will, but how can I educate them? And if something goes wrong, what can be the result of that?
Yeah. No, definitely discipline as well. It's something very important for me and how it is done because growing up with my brother, we do not remember my parents ever doing things out of anger, which is huge, but the discipline was so consistent and so on point. I'm like, how did you do this? So actually, there's an episode we will release, it's in Spanish, that I did with my mom on discipline and just the experience of raising children because it's a huge need to know how to do. I mean, my parents will be strict, firm. If they said something, we knew they would keep it. It was not like they would get tired of it, even though I think they did, but they were very consistent on top of things. But we knew that it was never, like, we were not afraid of them. And always was done in love, even spanking. My mom would cry afterwards and be like, I don't want to do this. This hurts me. So she was super sensitive to discipline because when she was young, only a look would make her cry. But not every kid is the same. My dad was like, I was not like that. I could be spanked and be running around. And like, not everyone is so sensitive emotionally to stuff. But she was. So for her, it was hard. But she knew that she had to do certain things to just help us correct. And so it was just wonderful. So I want to learn as many tools from my parents as possible because that's exactly how I want to do with my kids. Discipline was 100% on point. My parents, when it came to that, and they did a lot of like self-government. So we explain, and once you're mature, you can make your decisions. They were not micromanaging, controlling type of parents at all, but they were very firm, and what they said in the home had to be obeyed.
That's beautiful.
So that's how I want to be. And the more I've grown and matured and look around, I'm like, whoa, that's a skill. That's a gift. Like, I want it. And so, but yeah, I think it helped that my mom was present because the more you create that bond, the more you can have a voice.
Yeah.
The more
yeah.
you're a stranger, the more, why do I have to obey you if you're not even here or whatever? So if you don't care about me.
Another cultural thing that I would like to implement is to give respect to elders or older people. That I don't see as much in this country, in the US, as much as I have seen in India. Even in the language, words have with respect and without respect. So if I'm talking with my friends, I don't have to specifically use that respectful uh, annotation there. But if I'm going to talk with someone that is older than me, I'm going to use that respect, And of course, I'm not saying it has to be to that extreme where, how do I say? Like, I don't want it to be more like it's only respect and blindly believe or blindly accept what the older people are saying. But respecting them, even if you disagree, you still give them the due respect. That is something that I would like to have or develop with our children so that they will have that value of respecting others. I remember one of these pastors that came to India. He was doing a revival meeting in India, and my mom told my brother and I to tell him, "Hello, uncle, how are you?" And then we said, "Hello, uncle, how are you?" And then he responded, "Wow, this is so nice." And he's from the US. He's like, "This is so nice to hear young people call older people uncle and not be like, hey, what is just calling them by their names." I really like it. And people appreciate. Of course, again, different people have different values in that. For me, I would like our children to have that value,
Manners,
cultural
right.
values,
Yeah.
with good
Good
manners.
education,
Yeah.
like with respect. Definitely agree with that. Another value that I would love to give my kids, it's learning to experience other cultures. I guess because that's how I was raised. And I think it really helps to be in a third world country. So even if they're born in a more developed country, I would want us to go and serve for a few months or move or something for a time so that they can see the world from different angles, not just one angle like, oh, everything is kind of easy to get, or, United States is the world or whatever, but the world is a lot more.
Yeah.
And to have the sense of like, there's things that can be done differently, which we can always implement it in the home itself, but it does help to be in other countries and see the needs. And I would definitely want them to have that open world view and mission mindset as well.
Absolutely.
So that would be another big thing.
That'll be great. That'll be great because, I mean, coming from a third world country, I have been on mission trips to other third world countries. It's a total contrast, right? From how things are in the US to how things are in the other parts of the world. It's like there is a lot more that needs to be done, and then for them to have that taste of how other countries are and the needs of it, I think it's vital.
Well, maybe we can end with a last point, if time allows. That how do we want to guide our children with the multicultural that they will face, their identity and their culture when it comes to the world, and just navigating that?
You mean as in interracial couples' children? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, and who they are, because they will have a very mixed blood with different vibes, and they will be part German, part Hispanic, part Indian. So like, how do we envision them moving forward in that reality?
At this point in the world, if you really see, there is no pure breed besides few people
Like you.
like me, like me. 100% Indian,
South Indian.
99.9% or something like that South Indian, 0.1% northern part of India, but Indian. So it's, I think the world has changed right now in so many levels that there are so many combinations that even I've never thought, like a Chinese person marrying an African person.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
all the options.
Yeah, exactly. Or a Hispanic marrying an Indian, a lot of combinations that you've never imagined has happened. So I think they will fit right in without any of the issues, even if it is a multicultural family, and they'll be fine with it, as far as I know. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, since I'm already pretty mixed, I'm kind of excited for them to have even more because I feel the more bloods you have, the more you can connect to a certain extent to the world. No one will really see you as theirs, but you have a little bit of them and you're part of them somehow. So it's kind of this hybrid that you don't really feel from anywhere, but you fit in anywhere kind of. So I feel that's the beauty of God's children. I mean, if we all go back to the beginning, we all come from the same source, but through different years, centuries, and changes, we have become our little communities and groups and traditions and cultures. But at the end of the day, we are Christians trying to be united in one love and one faith. And so I feel it will open doors that if we teach them all our main languages, they can be connected with like so much of the world.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
just, yeah, I'm kind of excited because there was a friend that asked me, like, how do you feel? Like, don't you lose your identity when you're kind of mixed and then you marry someone different than what you already have? And I believe personally that your identity is in Christ, and then that you are free and not put in a box of a country or a language when you grow outside of that. So I think it's not for everyone. Not everyone feels comfortable, but because I was born and grew up like that, I just feel it's a gift I would give them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as long as they are the authentic self and not trying to pretend to be someone that they are not, I think they'll be perfectly fine. And again, there is most mixtures right now in the world
Yeah.
than ever before. So why not give some more to the world through us?
Yes.
So
So, well, may God lead us. We do have a couple more things here in the back that we just want to share with you. We have this little stuffed animal that we got after 1 year we were married as a reminder that God will give us children in His time and in His way. So, for those of you that don't know, maybe one day I will share. There was something special for me as a promise for the day I would get married. So now we have another special reminder that God can give us what He desires in His time. And so we have written down our prayers and commitment to the Lord in this area, asking Him to help us be the parents He wants us to be from now until He comes in the way He chooses how. And so we are excited for what God will continue to do in our lives and to be a blessing to those around us, even if they're not our biological kids, but people that we can share our love and help them feel like family, and then do it in the different ways God opens the doors.
absolutely. I mean, even adoption, once they are adopted, they are ours. Even if they might not be our blood, they will still be ours. So we are open for either option as long as God opens the doors. With that, we have come to the end of this episode. We probably will have part 2. We will cover some more, and if there needs to be covered more, maybe part 3. But we will see how it goes, and we will see you soon. God bless.